So my family told me very casually, like they weren't setting me up, hey, why don't you give us a shout out in your next show? And I said, sure, no problem. The same way you agree to help someone move when you think they're joking. But the moment they said it, I knew I'm absolutely gonna ruin this. Because if you've ever met my family, giving them a shout out is basically the same as handing them a gentle, low-calorie roast, like a diet insult. Honestly, I didn't even mean to roast them. It just happens. They talk and the jokes write themselves. I'm just the messenger. So I start with my mom because she's the easiest. I love her, but smart, but she asks questions like she's trying to break me mentally. She'll call and say, where are you? And I'll say, I'm at home. And she'll go, which home? Like I'm secretly a billionaire with 4 vacation properties. Mom, if I had a second home, I wouldn't even pick up this call. Then there's my dad, who wanted to shout out the most. This man wants public recognition for things he didn't even do. He once took credit for me graduating college, even though the only thing he contributed was yelling, you can do it. From the couch while eating chips, he fell asleep. And look, I tried to talk nicely, I really did. But when my dad says, make sure you tell them I'm the reason you're funny. I mean, sir, you raised me by accident. You didn't raise me for comedy. You raised me because hospitals won't let you leave with a baby unless you take responsibility for it. My sister, oh, she's the best. She told me, don't make fun of me too much, which immediately makes me do the opposite. That's how siblings work. She acts like she's the responsible one, but she once lost her phone while talking on it. The worst part, she blamed me. You distracted me? No, you distracted yourself from yourself. While all this is happening, I'm still trying to make this a shout out. Like, here is my loving family who can't function at room temperature. But I keep going because once you start roasting your family, you can't stop. It's like Pringles. One roast leads to another, and suddenly you're halfway through wondering how it came to this. And honestly, the more they asked me to stop, the funnier it got, because nothing motivates me more than someone saying, please don't talk about this on stage. Now that's basically an invitation. In fact, that's better than a shout out. That's a challenge. So anyway, I'm standing there trying to give my family the wholesome shout out they asked for. It just keeps turning into a slow, polite roast that they absolutely earned. And the audience is loving it, which means I can't stop. Look, this is all love. I mean, it's mostly love, honestly, still sorting out the percentages. And right when I think I'm wrapping up, my family starts texting me from across the room like I can't see them panicking. And I'm thinking, oh no, we're just getting started, because the funniest part about the whole thing is that it didn't even start as a joke. It started as this innocent little request, my family asking for a shout out, like they were ordering something off a menu. They said it so casually, like it was the simplest thing in the world. Hey, just mention us nicely in your next show. And right there, that sentence alone became the exact reason everything went downhill. Because anytime someone in your family uses the words nicely and publicly in the same sentence, already knows something is about to go terribly wrong. It's like they don't understand how comedy works. Maybe they just underestimate how much material they've given me over the years. And honestly, the moment they asked, shout out, I heard Here's a perfect opportunity to ruin Thanksgiving for the next 10 years. The setup was too good, too clean, too tempting. It was like I walked into a room, saw a giant red button that says "Dio no presses," and then politely asked me to please not press it while they turn around. So obviously, that button was getting pressed. The whole concept of a shout out already felt suspicious because my family is not the kind of group you casually think in public, are the kind of family you talk about in therapy, not on stage. When they said, just say something sweet, I knew they had unrealistic expectations. Sweet. About these people. The same people who argue over who left a spoon in the sink like it's a federal crime. These are not shout-out people. These are roast people. They were born for roasts. They walk, talk, and breathe material. The funniest part is they're unaware, completely unaware. They don't think anything they do is funny. Everything they do is the funniest thing about them. It's like they've been improvising a comedy show their entire lives and never realized the cameras are on. The more they insisted, the more it cemented the idea that this shout out was going to be a disaster. They were saying things like, make sure we look good, which is something only people who absolutely do not look good in stories would ever say. Normal families don't have to worry about how they'll be portrayed. Mine. They're negotiating like they're entering witness protection. I tried to tell them, this could backfire, but they just smiled like they believed in me. And that's when I knew I'm going to disappoint all of them. Not on purpose, but because they set me up like a slow pitch right down the middle. The comedian in me physically cannot let that go by. There's also something hilarious about how proud they were. My mom literally said, this will make us look good, like she was producing the show. My dad wanted approval before I even wrote anything. My sister asked for light humor, like roast levels come in flavors. It was chaos, pure, beautiful chaos disguised as a polite request. The hook is that the whole time, they didn't realize I wasn't preparing a shout out. I was preparing an ambush, a gentle, loving, absolutely unstoppable ambush that they walked into themselves. And as I stood there, getting ready to go on stage, realized the real punchline wasn't even the jokes. It was that they trusted me with this responsibility, knowing full well that I struggle with even the simplest tasks like mailing a letter. So there I was, holding this perfect setup they gifted me, thinking if they didn't want to roast, they should have known better than to ask a comedian for a shout. There is something magical about moms and the way they ask questions. Because they don't just ask them for information, they ask them like they're trying to solve a mystery that only exists in their head. My mom is one of those people who could turn the simplest situation into a full interrogation without even trying. She'll call me and start with a calm, friendly, "Where are you?" which sounds normal, harmless even. And then I answer, "I'm at home." And instead of accepting that like a regular person, she immediately follows up with, "Which home?" As if I'm secretly running a real estate empire behind her back. I don't know what version of me she thinks I am in her head, but apparently I'm very successful, very mysterious, always hiding something. The funniest part is that she genuinely believes she's asking reasonable questions. She has no idea she's building an entire plot twist out of thin air. She talks like she's on a true crime podcast, and I'm the prime suspect who refuses to confess where I buried the treasure. Once she gets going, there's no stopping her. She'll ask things that even she doesn't fully understand. She'll say, "Did you eat?" And I'll say, "Yes." And somehow that turns into, "What did you eat?" And then, "Why did you eat that?" Followed by, "Do you know how much calories are in that?" Like I just admitted to committing a nutritional felony. I don't know how she does it, but every conversation with her goes from 0 to 100 emotionally, and I'm never prepared. She has this talent, this unstoppable talent for turning normal life moments into comedy setups without even trying. She'll ask me if I'm busy, and then immediately ask me to fix something she broke. And the worst part, she says everything like I'm supposed to already know the answers. She'll tell me, "You remember the thing your uncle gave me that I kept in that place?" And I'm like, "No, nobody knows what place you're talking about. Not even you?" But she looks offended, like I just failed a test she never assigned. And every time I talk to her, she gives me more material than I could ever use. Not because she's trying to be funny. She has no idea she's hilarious. She's just being herself, which is somehow the funniest version of anyone I've ever met. She'll ask me questions that have two answers. She'll refuse to accept either one of them. If I say yes, she tells me I'm wrong. If I say no, she says, "You're lying." So at that point, I'm just answering for sport. There's no winning. She's in her own league, her own universe, where logic comes to visit but never stays. And the more she talks, the more I realize she genuinely believes I live a double life. If I tell her I'm tired, she says, "How can you be tired?" Like I don't have the right to basic human exhaustion. It's like she thinks I'm rechargeable and someone forgot to plug me in. And the truth is, every conversation with her becomes this beautifully frustrating loop of confusion and love. She creates hooks without knowing it. Moments where I'm thinking, there is no way she just said that. But she absolutely did. And the story keeps building because every time she asks something wild, it leads to another question, another twist, whether another moment where I'm standing there thinking I should have just said I was busy, because dads have this unbelievable superpower where they take credit for things they had absolutely nothing to do with. They do it with such confidence that for a second you actually start questioning your own memory. Dad is the champion of this. He doesn't just take credit, he collects it. He stores it like reward points on a loyalty card he never signed up for. When he heard the family was getting a shout out, he got this look in his eyes like he was preparing his acceptance speech for an award he didn't win. He even said, "Make sure you tell everyone I'm the reason you're funny." And the wildest part, he said it so sincerely, so casually. He genuinely believes that comedy flows through the family tree because he once made a joke in 1987 that nobody even laughed at. The man has selective history. He remembers events that never happened and forgets the ones he caused. He wants recognition for everything. If I succeed at something, he's right there claiming he trained me, motivated me, inspired me. If I mess up, suddenly he barely knows me. It's like watching a politician during election season. Full support in public, full denial in private. One time he told someone, I taught him discipline, while actively sitting in a recliner, completely unaware that his socks were two different colors. This is the same man who once told me, you don't need instructions, just start doing the thing. That thing, by the way, was building a shelf. We both know how that ended. We built something, but it wasn't a shelf. It was more like an abstract art piece that leaned so far to the left it could have run for office. Dad also loves giving advice he doesn't follow. He'll lecture me about saving money while ordering unnecessary things online because they were too good of a deal to ignore. He bought a treadmill once and used it exactly one time when he was testing if it worked. After that, it became a clothing rack, a shelf, a charging station, and at one point a place for the cat to sit and judge him. If someone asks why he doesn't use it, he'll say, I walked on it yesterday. No, he walked past it yesterday. He's living his own fictional reality, and somehow we're all characters in it. What makes it funnier is how proud he gets over the smallest things. If he screws in a light bulb, he expects applause. He remembers a birthday, he expects a plaque. He once fixed a remote by hitting it twice and claimed he restored order in the house. And when I told him that wasn't actually fixing it, looked at me like I was insulting a national hero. This man genuinely believes he is the foundation of our success, the moral compass of the household, and the secret genius behind every good decision we've ever made. And the thing is, doesn't even do it to brag. He does it because in his mind, every timeline leads back to him. If I learned patience, because he taught me how to deal with stress. No, the stress came from him. If I learned to be responsible, it's because he once told me, figure it out, while walking away from the situation entirely. Somehow, every life lesson I ever got was delivered while he was either half asleep, half listening, or halfway through a snack. Every time he tries to take credit, it becomes another perfect hook, another moment where I'm thinking, how does he say this with a straight face? But he does, and he will, because in his world, he's the background music to my success. And as he keeps insisting he deserves a special shout out, all I can think is he has no idea what he's really asking for, because siblings have this incredible ability to create their own disasters and then look at you like you caused them. My sister especially is a walking contradiction wrapped in unnecessary confidence. The moment she heard the family wanted to shout out, she pulled me aside like we were doing a secret exchange in a spy movie and whispered, just don't make fun of me too much. And right there, right in that tiny sentence, she accidentally guaranteed she'd be the star of the roast. Because nothing motivates me more than someone in my family telling me not to joke about them. That's not a warning. It's an invitation. She might as well have handed me a golden ticket and said, please ruin my reputation in front of everyone. The irony is she genuinely thought she was protecting herself. She had the confidence of someone who believes they live a normal, functional life. Reality, she creates more material than a writer's room in panic mode. She always pretends she's the organized one in the family, the one who keeps everything together, but this is the same person who once lost her phone. While talking on it, she literally said, have you seen my phone? With the phone pressed to her ear. I didn't even know how to answer her. Do you break it to her gently? Or do you let her figure it out naturally, like a baby deer realizing it has legs? And the best part, when she finally realized what happened, she blamed me. She said, you distracted me. How? How did I distract you from your own face? Somehow in her world, everything is my fault. If she forgets her keys, it's my fault. If she burns toast, it's my fault. If it rains, I probably caused that too. She lives in a universe where she is the main character, and I'm the official scapegoat hired to take emotional damage on her behalf. Her confidence when she gives me advice is unbelievable. She'll tell me things like, you should be more responsible, while standing in the middle of chaos she created. She once told me I don't listen. Right after asking me, what day comes after Thursday? She's not dumb. She just moves through life like her brain is buffering. Yet she thinks she's the most reliable person in the family. She'll text me things like, Mom said, bring that thing from the place, and then get mad when I don't magically decode her cryptic nonsense. She talks like she's sending secret messages no one's supposed to understand. And when I ask her what she meant, she rolls her eyes like I'm the unreasonable one. What makes it even funnier is how she changes completely when other people are around. Suddenly she's calm, responsible, soft-spoken, like she's auditioning for Sibling of the Year. Meanwhile, I'm standing in the back thinking, you yelled at a toaster yesterday because it looked suspicious. She has this public version of herself that absolutely does not match the behind the scenes chaos. That's exactly why she's impossible not to roast. It's too perfect, too real, too good to waste. She gives me the best stories without knowing she's doing it. Every weird moment becomes another hook, another twist, another thing she begs me not to say on stage that my brain immediately puts at the top of the list. What she still doesn't realize, even after all of this, is that the more she tries to control the narrative, the funnier it gets. She thinks telling me, don't say anything embarrassing, will stop the roast, when really it just fuels it. Because every time she tries to hide something, I remember 10 other things she did that are even worse. The whole time she's panicking about her image, pacing around like she's preparing for a presidential debate, I'm thinking she has no idea that this shout out isn't going to go the way she hopes, because what makes the whole thing even better is the way this shout out slowly, almost gracefully, turns into a roast without me even trying. It's like watching a car roll downhill in slow motion. You don't push it, you don't guide it. You just stand there and accept the fact that gravity has made the decision for you. I walked into it with the intention of being sweet, being sentimental, maybe even making my family look a little heroic for once. But the problem with my family is that every single one of them is unintentionally hilarious. I can't talk about them without exposing something questionable, because everything they do feels like a sitcom audition gone wrong. So the moment I opened my mouth and said, I want to give a shout out to my family, I could already feel the shift happening. Like the crowd knew this wasn't heading anywhere good. They leaned in, not because they cared about my family, but because they sensed something chaotic was coming. And the truth is, the shout out never stood a chance. You can't expect a heartwarming tribute when the people you're talking about have given you a lifetime of material that practically demands to be shared. It's impossible. My mom alone could fill an entire hour. My dad could fill a whole season. My sister, she could run a whole network. So when I start talking about them, it begins with good intentions, but their personalities are like magnets for punchlines. Even the moments I try to describe kindly end up sounding like accusations. I'll try to say something simple like, my dad works hard, and then remember the time he fell asleep during his own pep talk. I'll say, my mom is caring, and instantly recall every conversation where she gave me emotional whiplash with questions that didn't even need answers. By the time I get to my sister, the crowd is already laughing because they know the pattern. They know this is not a family built for soft, gentle compliments. This is a family built for polite destruction. The funniest part is how naturally the roast takes over. There's no dramatic shift, no sudden twist. It happens like a slow fade, the same way daylight turns into sunset. 1 second I'm praising them, the next I'm explaining how my sister lost her phone while holding it, and suddenly the shout out is gone. It evaporates. If I try to pull it back, it's too late. The audience is in, they're hooked, and they want more. And I can't just stop. Once you start roasting your family, it's like opening a bag of chips. You can't just eat one. You keep going, and suddenly the bag is empty, and you're staring at your reflection, wondering what happened. That's exactly how comedy with family works. The moment I lean in, they become unstoppable material. And the more I talk, the deeper I go, because the funniest stories are right under the surface. My dad waiting for applause, for turning off a light. My mom asking questions she doesn't understand. My sister giving advice she shouldn't even give herself. The shout out becomes a roast not because I want it to, but because it's impossible to tell the truth about them without it sounding like a comedic takedown. The crowd loves it because they recognize their own families in the chaos. They relate to the absurdity, the misunderstandings, unintentional disasters. It becomes less about roasting and more about confessing the everyday madness of being related to people who mean well, but exist in pure confusion. As I keep going, layering story after story, it feels less like I'm speaking and more like the comedy is pulling me forward. I'm not even in control anymore. The shout out they asked for has turned to the exact opposite, because once you start roasting your family, stopping isn't even an option. It becomes this unstoppable momentum that carries you whether you want it to or not. It's like trying to put toothpaste back in the tube. Once it's already out, you can stand there and fight it. But the damage is done and everyone's watching. The moment I make the first joke, the audience gives that laugh, that very specific laugh that says, "We want more of that." And suddenly I'm no longer in control. It's like comedy gravity takes over and starts pulling every memory, every ridiculous moment, smart, every chaotic event from my childhood straight to the front of my brain. And the funny thing is, none of it feels forced. It actually feels like my family planned this, like they spent years giving me material on purpose, training me for this exact moment. They didn't teach me to clean my room, but they taught me the art of unintentional comedy. And that's somehow even more powerful. The more the crowd laughs, the more I remember things I forgot I even knew. Stuff I swore I'd never talk about publicly suddenly becomes fair game, because once that comedic momentum kicks in, the brakes stop working. You try to slow down, but the laughs get louder and you think, okay, maybe just one more story. And then one story turns into 5. It becomes this flowing stream of jokes you didn't plan, but absolutely have to follow. Every time I think I'm about to wrap it up, another memory pops into my head. Something my sister said, something my dad tried to fix and made worse, something my mom misunderstood completely, and I just have to go with it. It's like the universe is saying, no, we're not done yet. And honestly, the audience agrees. The funniest part is how my family reacts when they watch it. They start panicking before I've even said anything. Their eyes widen, they whisper to each other like they're trying to negotiate a peace treaty. They keep giving me that subtle, wrap it up, hand signal that only makes me want to keep going. Because nothing fuels comedy like someone begging you to stop. There's just something about seeing your family react in real time that unlocks an entire new level of jokes. My dad folds his arms like he's trying to protect his reputation. My mom looks like she's trying to pray the punchline away. My sister starts typing aggressively on her phone like she's drafting a public statement. All of that just becomes even more material. It's unstoppable. They're smart. It's like watching your own family hand deliver the next joke without realizing they've done it. The momentum becomes this rhythm that builds on itself. Every reaction sparks a new line. Every awkward glance becomes a setup. Every shared family secret becomes a ticking comedic time bomb. You're not even performing anymore. You're just riding the wave they created. And once you're in that zone, where every story connects perfectly with the next one, you can feel the audience locking in. They lean forward for the next twist, living for the next ridiculous detail, and you realize that stopping now would feel wrong. It would feel like walking out of a movie 10 minutes before the twist. So you keep going because their laughter becomes the fuel, your family becomes the map, and the comedy just keeps unfolding, layer after layer, like it's guiding you somewhere bigger, wilder, and funnier than where you started. Before you know it, you're thinking, this story isn't slowing down anytime soon because... So in the end, I realized my family never really wanted a shout out. They wanted a moment where they looked good, and somehow they trusted me to deliver that. Which is wild, because if there's one thing I've proven my whole life, it's that I can't be trusted with anything that involves speaking publicly and not embarrassing everyone involved. But honestly, that's what makes them my family. They give me chaos, I give them a microphone. They give me material, I give them stage time they never asked for. And the craziest part, after everything I said, after roasting them from every angle, they still smiled, still nodded, still claimed they were proud. Because deep down, they know it's all love, messy, confusing, absolutely unfiltered love. And as they sat there whispering, trying to figure out if I went too far, I just looked at them and thought, well, if you think that was bad, until the next show, because